Okay, now let us understand what are the broad components of Income Tax Act, or rather the income tax laws in India. Okay, as I told you, the law governing the income tax provisions in India is the Income Tax Act 1961, right? So basically, the provisions of Income Tax Act are governed by the Income Tax Act 1961. Now, this law was made in 1961. So every year, based on the changes that happen, based on the requirements, based on the provisions and the circumstances prevailing, every year there is a Finance Act which is passed every year to bring changes to the IT Act 1961. So this is basically meant, let's say for example you have provision X. Okay, if you have to change this provision X, that has to be changed by means of a Finance Act. Okay, now then there are IT rules, or the income tax rules as they are called. The purpose of IT rules is to frame down the procedure through which various provisions of the Income Tax Act are to be implemented. Let's say, for example, the Income Tax Act provides that the tax has to be withheld at source. Okay? The IT rules will provide, once you withhold the tax, how do you deposit it with the government? So it provides the provision. So you deposit where, what is the form in which you have to intimate the income tax department, in what form is the return to be filed. All this is to be prescribed by the IT rules. What is the form? I mean, the various forms which are there are also there in the IT rules. Then what happens is that whatever are the provisions under the Income Tax Act, people try to interpret them in their own manners. Okay? So in order to ensure that the provisions are interpreted in the manner in which they are intended. So let's say we mean that tax has to be withheld on payments to non-residents. Okay, but some people are interpreting that no, non-residents are not Indians, so I don't need to withhold. So to provide clarification on certain matters, there are circulars and clarifications issued by Central Board of Direct Taxes, wherein they clarify as to what is the intent behind particular set of provision, right? And then whenever there's a controversy between the assessee and government, okay, that is basically sorted out by various courts. These courts basically range at 3 levels. One is ITAT, which is also known as the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Then there's a High Court, and then there's a Supreme Court. So we will discuss each of these provisions in certain subsequent videos, where I am going to explain each one of them to you in detail. Right? But this is how an Income Tax Act basically works.